In a world woven with swords and sorcery, our hero Ren stands as just one among countless adventurers. Yet unlike the wealthy nobles who sleep till noon, Ren wakes before dawn driven by the sting of poverty. As a freelance adventurer, rising early is his only chance to claim the best quests from the Adventurers Guild before others snatch them away. These quests range from slaying monsters, guarding clients, to gathering rare herbs and materials. As Ren searches for a mission that matches his rank, he crosses paths with a familiar team who have already secured their contracts and set off. Meanwhile, Ren remains questless, the early risers having seized the spoils before him. Most adventurers band together, but Ren prefers solitude haunted by the weight of stagnation. 10 years in the field, yet still stuck at bronze rank. Still, he survives by hunting beasts and selling their ores to the guild, a steady grind fueled by frugality and caution, saving every coin for the uncertain road ahead. One day, Ren ventures deep into a dungeon's darkest depths, where fate unveils a shattered wall, an uncharted secret passage carved by some unknown creature. Sensing a fortune hidden beyond, he steps boldly inside. This untouched realm promises treasures untold, a chance to rewrite his destiny. He should have turned back, reported the discovery, and claimed his reward. But greed whispers urging him further inward. Then face to face, he confronts a dragon, the apex of all magical beasts. Despite its unusual form, the oppressive aura it radiates freezes Ren in place. Devoured by the beast, death seems certain. Yet by some miracle, Ren survives, transformed into a living skeleton, an undead echo of his former self. Though immortal now, the cleansing magic of the church threatens to end him forever. This unnatural existence defies the sacred laws of the gods. Lost unsure, he contemplates returning to the guild, though he fears execution or forced purification. Panic grips him until he notices the dragon's absence. For now, escape seems possible. Scholars have long puzzled over the labyrinth's monstrous inhabitants, creatures born of mystery and magic. Ren decides to wait for other explorers, hoping for help, but first he must learn to live within this skeletal shell. Speech falters, his voice feels strange. Suddenly, another skeleton appears. Grasping his sword, Ren feels the weight of his new form muscles gone, strength diminished. He swings, but clumsily falls backward, the heavy blade betraying his weakened body. The other skeleton stumbles too, struggling to reattach a fallen limb. Ren realizes his old swordsmanship won't suffice. He taps into his inner energy, infusing his bones with newfound power. Empowered, he strikes down the skeletal foe with a decisive blow. In that moment, a radiant light bursts forth the skeletal enemy, transforming back into a human, just like Ren himself. Ren suddenly recalled a conversation with a fellow adventurer, a clever girl who once mentioned that monsters in the labyrinth evolve in ways unlike humans. While humans grow stronger through relentless training and hardship, monsters like skeletons have a chance to become undead, then ascend to demonic beings. Rent thought, what if he could become a demon himself, hiding beneath a cloak, and find a way back to the city? Determined, Rent set his sights on defeating monsters in the labyrinth to evolve and return home. Soon, he had slain 5 skeletons. He noticed a radiant light each time he defeated one. This glow healed him, allowing continuous use of his energy in battle. Growing accustomed to his new fighting style, Rent then discovered a Slim, a creature considered weak on par with skeletons. But Slim was his natural enemy. Slims feared magic, yet Rent had only mastered physical attacks, never magic spells. His only chance was to strike the Slim's core or wound it beyond recovery. With a wild swing, luck favoured him. He severed the core. Although Slim attacked by spraying acid, its liquid, once dead, was harmless and even used as a cosmetic ingredient to soften skin. Meanwhile, at the Adventurers Guild, the receptionist was being asked about newcomers. She planned to ask Rent to guide the new girl, but Rent had been missing since yesterday. The new girl, short on money, entered the labyrinth to earn some coin while waiting for Rent's return. After a day in the labyrinth, Rent realised he no longer felt hunger or fatigue. Though his evolution was slow, his stamina had stabilised. He grew more comfortable using magic, and even learned holy spells, healing and purifying water, preserving food, wanting to keep his bread fresh as a backup. Rent chose caution, 1 to 3 monsters he could fight, but anything more meant running. Despite a decade as an adventurer, Rent admitted he was still weak. This path wasn't suited for everyone. Most quit after years. But his resolve burned bright. Survival meant he'd keep going, training endlessly toward his dream to become a high-ranking adventurer, a hero who could save a nation. Even as a skeleton, he refused to give up. Continuing his hunts, Rent sensed newfound strength surpassing his human days. As he prepared to harvest liquid from a slim, a sudden light surged through him, his first evolution. Rent transformed into an undead with flesh and skin, though incomplete. He could speak, but words were still unclear. Understanding the power of this evolution, Rent embraced his monster-slaying role with renewed vigor. Now an undead, he moved with greater agility. His energy and magic swelled, making battles easier. He quickly defeated 2 goblins, marveling at his strength beyond what he had as a human. Later, Rent spotted a human inside the labyrinth, but chose to stay hidden, fearing the girl might flee or attack. He recognized her as a newcomer after all he knew most adventurers in the city. Observing carefully, Rent saw she had basic sword skills, but lacked experience and situational awareness. Suddenly, a skeleton charged at the girl, cornering her against the wall. She fought back, but lost her sword to the undead. Rent had no choice but to step in, appearing behind the skeleton and cleaving it in 2. Then he approached the girl cautiously. Startled and fearful, the girl eyed Rent warily. He introduced himself, dropping his sword to show he meant no harm. Rent confessed his death and transformation. When asked if he intended to kill her if she ran away, he firmly denied it. He even asked her to help buy clothes to cover his undead form, hoping to return to the city. Handing her money, Rent told her to keep anything left over. The girl introduced herself as Rena, daughter of a knightly family, promising to repay his kindness. Rent led Rena to the labyrinth's gate and watched her leave. He noticed her cautious demeanor, an essential trait for any adventurer. Rent worried she might report him to the guild, but he chose not to dwell on it and faced whatever came next. Rena returned to the guild and spoke with the receptionist. Meanwhile, Rent continued hunting monsters, gathering strength to evolve further. When Rena came back with supplies, Rent finally showed himself. Unsure she held her sword ready, Rent explained that only he was undead in the lower levels. True undead lived higher up. She handed over clothes loose and covering his body and bandages to wrap his hands and feet to avoid suspicion. Rent tried on the clothes, but worried his face might still reveal him, so Rena also brought a mask. When he put it on, it clung tight, cursed and unremovable, even with holy magic. The outfit came from the receptionist's help, but the mask was a lucky find from a street vendor. Rena regretted not questioning the mask's suspiciously low price and felt guilty. Rent didn't blame her. Now his priority was earning money and finding a high-level mage to lift the curse. Rena saw Rent's kindness clearly and dropped her guard. Together they left the labyrinth. Rent learned that Rena came from another city, but had moved here to study and become an adventurer, especially with 2 new labyrinths opening nearby. Approaching the city gates, Rent feared being asked for his identification a problem, since he looked nothing like his official record. Rena offered to sneak him in through a side gate, but Rent didn't want to trouble her further. He worried that if caught, Rena might be punished for aiding a monster, so he resolved to face whatever fate awaited, holding on to hope and the bond they had formed. The city stood vast and unyielding, yet she owed her life to Rent, and that debt bound her desire to help him now and in the days to come. Later, Rent arrived at the city gates, brandishing his adventurer's badge as a key to passage. Rena, ever thoughtful, concocted a reason for him, claiming he had been attacked by monsters and wounded, seeking a mask to hide his scars. But fate was cruel. The mask was cursed, stuck fast upon his face. Soldiers tried to pry it off, but it clung like a shadow. With no choice left, Rent was forced to seek a holy mage's aid to lift the curse. Once inside the city, Rent offered Rena a quiet thank you, before vanishing like a ghost. He wanted no deeper ties with her, for he knew she was destined to grow beyond him, blossoming into a finer adventurer. He planned to return when he felt more human, more himself, to apologize for what he couldn't ask of her now. With no choice, he sought help from his scholar friend Vivi. Vivi, half asleep, thought Rent had come as usual, but this was a different Rent, and Haunted changed. She pressed him gently, asking what had happened in the labyrinth. As Rent recounted his ordeal, being devoured by a dragon and rising as a living corpse, Vivi's eyes widened. Such a fate was nearly impossible, and the dragon seemed gone from the maze now. Her suspicion grew, yet every word Rent spoke was mirrored in the reality before her. Vivi asked the question, burning quietly between them. "Are you truly the Rent?" "I know," Rent's voice faltered. He held only the memories and consciousness of Rent, but whether this body was truly his own remained a mystery. When Vivi inquired about his next steps, Rent confessed his desire to continue as an adventurer, though this form barred him from the guild. He entrusted Vivi as his proxy, granting her permission to study him, a pact sealed with trust. The next morning, Vivi sold Rent's magic stones and slime for a respectable sum. With the newfound funds, Rent ventured to the blacksmith's shop to commission a new sword. His unsettling appearance drew many curious glances along the way. The blacksmith's mistress, startled at first, recognized the marks of both physical and magical battle etched into him. After discussing Rent's budget, she agreed to craft a fine blade, asking for half the payment up front and the rest upon delivery. She requested contact details, which Rent deferred to Vivi. Rent's atypical form attracted attention as he strode through the streets, but he remained focused. At the forge, the blacksmith mistress inspected his old sword, seeing the toll of countless battles fought with strength and sorcery. She assured him that with his funds, a formidable new weapon would soon be ready. The blade's crafting would take time, but she promised to notify Vivi when it was done. Meanwhile, Vivi delved deeper into the enigma of Rent's existence. She learned that zombies typically emerge from the dead, losing reason and emotion. But Rent was different, a living corpse retaining his mind and feelings, a rare anomaly. Though uncertain if he was truly the Rent, she once knew his consciousness remained intact, a fragile thread connecting past and present. Vivi's reputation as the youngest great scholar in history preceded her. She chose the path of adventurer, swiftly rising to silver rank on her first outing. While gathering herbs in the forest, a man advised her to bring Rent along. When Rent arrived, he helped gather herbs with surprising skill, filling a whole basket before Vivi herself. Their bond deepened as they faced dangers together. When a monster appeared, Rent urged Vivi to cast her spells while he shielded her from harm. With a single strike, Vivi vanquished the beast. Rent realized this was Vivi's first real battle, and beneath his rough exterior, a new purpose flickered, a silent vow to protect and grow alongside her. In the heat of battle as they rested, Vivi realized that Ren was surprisingly skilled at gathering herbs. He explained that beyond reading and writing, one must also master knowledge of plants and monsters, because you never know when such knowledge could save your life. For the first time, a seasoned scholar like Vivi had to humbly ask someone ordinary like Ren to teach her. From that day on, the two grew close, a bond forged over 10 years. Ren steadily climbed to rank C, while Vivi watched his back every day. One evening, Ren returned home from the blacksmith shop where the smith and his wife gifted him a temporary sword. They sensed Ren's kindness, but also the heavy curse he carried, something he wouldn't speak of, probably to protect them. Yet, despite his silence, Ren trusted them enough to seek their help for a weapon. They promised to wait until he was ready to share his burden. That night during dinner, Vivi noticed Ren wasn't hungry. He didn't need to eat. His resolve was clear. He was determined to evolve into a form closer to human. Vivi saw that even if he fought monsters relentlessly, he hadn't changed much inside. The next day, entering the labyrinth, Ren stumbled upon a man struggling against a slim. He stepped in to help, but quickly judged the man as inexperienced. Ren believed adventurers who braved the maze must accept the risks alone, even death, and didn't want to get involved. But the man, desperate, begged to join Ren's party. A novice adventurer, he was once a chef with a stable life, now thrown into the labyrinth to repay debts. Despite several attempts, no party accepted him, leaving him alone and vulnerable. Ren apologized, saying he was too busy to help. Unless the man found rare treasures, he couldn't pay off his debts. The chef was ready to give up, but Ren surprised him by inviting him to carry his gear. Noticing a wound on the man's arm, Ren felt an unexpected pang of emotion. Though uneasy, Ren chose to accompany him. Leading the way, Ren revealed a secret path he had discovered earlier. The dragon was gone, but as they explored, the chef found another hidden route. The chef thought informing the guild could earn him credit, but he didn't want to steal Ren's glory. Ren insisted he take the credit, he just wanted to explore deeper. Together, they found an empty room. Ren spotted a magic circle on the floor, invisible to the chef. The chef stepped on it and vanished. Ren realized it was a teleportation spell leading to danger. Confident in his strength, Ren followed. They arrived in a chamber where the chef lay unconscious near a massive skeleton, the dungeon boss. Ren drew his sword and charged, but his strikes barely scratched the monster. Even enchanted sword magic failed. With no escape, Ren knew the boss had to be defeated to leave. There was no choice but to unleash holy magic. Ren fortified his sword with sacred power, landing a crippling blow that shattered the boss's leg. Seizing the moment, he delivered a finishing strike. The chef regained consciousness and met Ren again. Using holy magic, Ren healed him and handed over a rare magic stone dropped by the boss enough to clear his debts. But Ren had conditions. The chef had to sell the magic stone for him and allow Ren to eat free meals at his tavern. Ren also confided in him about his cursed form, explaining why he couldn't join the guild. Guiding the chef out, Ren noticed the teleportation circle had vanished, yet the chef could still exit safely. Back in the city, the chef named Loris brought Ren to his tavern. His wife Isabel was relieved to see her husband safe. Loris shared the story of Ren's help, though Isabel worried about deception. Loris assured her Ren was trustworthy, joking about the price-free meals for Ren. The couple bowed in gratitude and asked Ren's name. Ren revealed his name and asked for secrecy. Returning to Vivi's home, strange symptoms appeared, his vision blurred. When Vivi asked about a letter from the Empire's elders, Ren suddenly embraced her, half his mask vanishing as he bit into her shoulder. Vivi pushed him away and, confirming his sanity, remained cast a spell to knock him out. Upon waking, Ren apologized and asked Vivi not to hold it against him. He confessed meeting a man in the labyrinth who looked delicious, but he suppressed the urge, returning only to find Vivi equally tempting, so his instincts took over. Vivi suspected the truth. Ren was still an undead craving human flesh. Loris, an ordinary man, and his wife. Isabel bowed their heads in gratitude towards Rent, asking for his name. Rent shared his name, but with a solemn request to keep it a secret. Afterward, he returned to Vivi's home, where he began to experience strange symptoms, his vision fading into a blur. As he staggered into the house, Vivi inquired about a letter from the elders of the Empire, asking where he had hidden it. Suddenly, Rent stepped forward, embracing her in a moment of desperation. In an instant, half of his mask vanished, causing him to bite down on Vivi's shoulder. She quickly pushed him away, and once she confirmed that he still had his sanity intact, she summoned her magic to subdue him. When Rent awoke, he pleaded with Vivi, wanting to discuss what had just transpired. She urged him not to dwell on it, assuring him she was fine. Yet she wanted to hear the truth of his experience. Rent revealed that he had encountered a man in the labyrinth who had stirred unsettling appetites within him. He had brushed aside those feelings until he returned to find Vivi, who sparked a similar craving within him, leading to his instinctual act of biting her. Vivi had partially anticipated this outcome, for Rent was after all a zombie drawn to the flesh and blood of the living. Rent then asked to see her wound, attempting to heal her with holy magic. After the first attempt, her pain subsided, but the scar remained. Determined, Rent channeled his magic once more, and the injury vanished completely. Vivi then noticed that Rent's mask had transformed. He could now shift it into two forms, one to cover his eyes and another to conceal his mouth. It seemed this mask had a will of its own, one that Rent could control. However, when Vivi tried to remove it, she found she could not. She realized that Rent had evolved into a new form, a half-demon, a lesser tier of a vampire. He was unaware of when this transformation had occurred, as he had not changed during his battle with the skeletal boss. It must have happened after he bit Vivi. While Vivi couldn't pinpoint the reason behind Rent's evolution into a half-demon, she had a preliminary theory. Initially, Rent was but a skeleton that evolved into a zombie. Yet, the zombie form wasn't the only evolutionary path for skeletons. Tales spoke of various forms like knight or archer skeletons. This suggested that evolution might stem from one's desires, and Rent had always harboured the wish to become a being akin to humanity. Rent pondered why he transitioned from a zombie to a half-demon, instead of becoming a full vampire. Vivi explained that evolution was akin to levelling up in an adventurer's guild. One couldn't simply leap to a higher tier, but had to progress steadily. Rent believed that, with effort, he could evolve into a vampire and eventually into a human. Vivi reassured him that she could guarantee his future as a vampire, but what lay beyond that was uncertain. Viv believed the evolution process was like levelling up in the Adventurers Guild. You can't just skip levels. You have to rise slowly. Rent thought that if he pushed his evolution, he might become a vampire first, and then from vampire returned to human. Viv was confident about the vampire stage, but uncertain about the transformation back to human. Further evolutions couldn't be achieved by just killing ordinary monsters. But for now, this was just her theory, so Rent decided to take it slow. Viv promised to give her all to support him. Viv wanted to experiment a bit on Rent first, starting by sketching his body to observe future changes. If it hurt, she had anesthetic ready. She also planned to try some other tests, but Rent wanted to wait until the next day, since it was already late. The next morning, Rent discovered the sword he had borrowed from his blacksmith friend was broken, so he took it to the forge for repair. The blacksmith friend scolded Rent not to ruin swords like that, as materials were rare these days. Rent explained about his encounter with the giant skeleton deep within the labyrinth, which made the blacksmith sympathetic. He wanted to help Rent continue exploring that hidden area, because he didn't want Rent to be abandoned like before. The friend lent him a better sword since Rent was a close companion. On the way back to the labyrinth, Rent saw Loris and his wife shopping, preparing to reopen their shop. In the following days, Rent assisted Viv with her experiments. Although he didn't understand much about alchemy, Rent was a bit wary of the tests Viv planned to perform on him. He even tried the poison Viv concocted, which seemed to have no effect on him. However, the healing and beneficial potions did work. Rent didn't feel sleepy or tired, but he did experience a craving for human flesh. Viv then gave Rent a vial of her own blood to use whenever he felt close to losing control. Just a single drop eased his thirst significantly. The next morning, Rent expressed his wish to visit the guild to accept commissions. However, Viv thought his current appearance might draw unwanted attention. Although Rent was a bronze rank adventurer, the guild highly valued him for his many contributions and vast knowledge. The guild had even considered offering him a position, but since Rent hadn't planned to retire yet, they hadn't made an official proposal. Now, Rent wanted to level up, but to do that, he needed achievements. The way to gain achievements was to take on commissions personally. Viv then came up with an idea. Rent would assume a different identity and start climbing the ranks from scratch. Rent went to the guild and approached Zaya, the receptionist he was closest to. When he arrived, he requested to register as an adventurer. While preparing the paperwork, memories of 10 years ago flooded back when he was just starting out. Yet his goals hadn't changed since then. Rent decided to keep his original first name, but change his last name, which surprised Zai when she heard the new name Rent. No additional dialogue provided to rewrite for this segment beyond the surprise at the name Rent. A few days ago, Rent's acquaintance vanished without a trace. Rent revealed he was kin to Viv, so he's been living at Viv's place. S has also heard whispers about someone recently moving into Viv's house. After handling some paperwork, Rent felt sure he made the right call. Claiming kinship with Viv, he didn't want her dragged into ugly rumours. Soon after, Rent received his adventurer's badge and stepped boldly into the labyrinth. Inside, he caught sight of a young adventurer duo and figured they could handle themselves. If this were the old Rent, he'd have rushed over to guide them. But now, as a rookie, he chose to avoid drawing attention. Instead, he decided to seek out his secret passage B before anyone else found it. As Rent approached the teleportation room, he ventured deeper inside. He stumbled upon a stone chamber. Looking like someone had lived there, a skeleton lay within. Suddenly, a cloaked girl appeared, demanding to know his purpose. Suspecting Rent was a thief, she unleashed a spell at him. Luckily, as a half-demon, only his gear was singed. His body suffered mere scratches. Now, understanding why he was there, she softened. Realizing her mistake, she approached to apologize. Rent accepted her apology and she offered him her cloak. She then begged him not to reveal this place to anyone. It held deep meaning for her. In exchange, she handed over a magical scroll, a map that automatically records every step Rent takes. Once their deal was sealed, the girl teleported Rent right outside the labyrinth. Rent relayed the tale to Viv, who joked that he seemed cursed, always running into strange events. The map, however, was nearly useless to her. Curious Rent infused it with mana, and suddenly the map lit up, tracing detailed paths through the labyrinth. Arrows even marked other adventurers' locations. Viv declared the map a priceless treasure, rivaling any national relic. Rent tested if the map could reveal other labyrinths, but those were incomplete. He recalled the girl saying the map only records places he's been. Next, he examined the cloak for curses. Viv revealed it was special, boasting high magic resistance. Even sword strikes couldn't pierce it. Rent resolved to return to that secret room tomorrow. Though the girl forbade sharing its existence, she never banned his visits. Despite knowing she disliked outsiders entering, Rent wanted to see her again. But the next day, when Rent sought the secret entrance, it was sealed off. The map no longer showed its location. Rent realized the girl had blocked the path to avoid meeting him. At the guild, S grew worried, having heard nothing from Rent. Suddenly, he returned and declared his wish to take on a mission to slay an orc. S hesitated, warning that such tasks are risky for rookies, but Rent was confident his combat experience was enough to handle the orc. Not long after, Rent came back with 3 chunks of orc meat in his magic pouch, proof of his success. S then asked him to stay for a moment. Now, other adventurers eyed Rent suspiciously. How did a newbie kill an orc so easily? S asked if Rent wanted to take the rank-up exam, to which he eagerly agreed. That evening, Viv asked Rent what name he used to register as an adventurer. He admitted using Viv's family name to protect her reputation, while he stayed nearby. She wasn't bothered. Soon after, Rent attended the rank-up exam. Many contenders gathered, and those who could read were ushered into the written test. For Rent, these tests felt like child's play, too easy. He noticed a surge of applicants this year, including the cloaked girl he met earlier. After the written test, many were eliminated, but Rent aced it flawlessly. S then informed him the practical exam would involve a guild-assigned commission. Rent was teamed up with the 2 rookies he'd met before, Jai and Laura. After introductions, the guild announced the challenge. Teams must race through a designated labyrinth zone with no rules, anything goes. The first to reach the goal wins a special reward. Everyone realized this was a fierce race. They were then taken to a labyrinth different from Rent's usual grounds. Rent advised Jai and Laura to buy updated maps, since the guilds were 15 years old, possibly outdated by labyrinth changes. They went to a nearby shop where maps were pricey, so Rent requested a map just for the first floor. Sure enough, it differed vastly from the guilds. The shop owner advised Jai and Laura to heed Rent's guidance. He seemed experienced. Rent also revealed the guild deliberately handed out old maps to make the exam tougher. He added that the Adventurer Guild was notoriously cruel. The trio entered the labyrinth and soon encountered a gang of skeleton monsters. Laura and Jai quickly showed they were no pushovers, impressing Rent with their skill and teamwork. After dispatching the skeletons, Rent found a foul-smelling bag, clearly bait for monsters. Rent noticed an ambush ahead. It was humans. Calmly, he stepped forward, blocking an attacker's strike. He handed the captive to Jai while rushing to take down an archer and a mage. Jai seemed to struggle more against a swordsman, so Laura used a blinding spell to stun him. Then, Jai slammed him against a wall for Laura to finish off with a rock. Jai realized these were fellow exam participants trying to sabotage them. Rent warned that the labyrinth was a lawless battlefield, anything could happen, so they needed to stay alert. As they advanced, Rent ordered a shadowy figure to clean up the mess. A cloaked person appeared. They were guild agents, planted to hinder candidates. Meanwhile, the guildmaster told S he found Rent suspicious, a new arrival with such formidable power. He wanted S to report everything. The bag he carried emitted a foul odour, unmistakably the bait that lured the monsters. Rent then sensed an ambush ahead humans. He cautiously approached and intercepted an attack from the hidden assailant. He handed this foe over to Jai while he noticed 2 others in the distance. As Jai faced the swordsman, Rent charged to confront the archer and another spellcaster. Jai seemed to struggle against the swordsman, so Laura cast a spell to blind him, allowing Jai to shove him against the wall while Laura pelted him with stones. Jai soon realized that these were also participants in the exam, and they sought to sabotage them. The examiner had mentioned that any means were permissible, so Rent warned both of them that the labyrinth was a place where anything could happen, urging them to proceed with utmost caution as the group moved forward. Rent had instructed the one hiding in the shadows to step out and clean up. A figure cloaked in a robe emerged, and they were all members planted by the association to hinder the contestants. The association's leader then informed S that he found Rent suspicious. How could a newcomer possess such formidable strength? He wanted S to report everything back to him. Meanwhile, Rent's group had reached the boss's room, but another team arrived just after and tried to push ahead. Seeing their deliberate provocations, Rent unsheathed his sword to threaten them. They realized the gravity of the situation and refrained from causing chaos any further. Rent then allowed them to go ahead because he wanted Dia and Laura to witness a lesson. Shortly after, the rival team fled outside, escorted by the association's members. Rent reassured them that they wouldn't lose their lives in this test, but it served as a lesson that if one feels they can't win, it's better to retreat than to risk everything. A reckless gamble would inevitably lead to a harrowing shock, and whether one stands up after such a shock determines the strength of an adventurer. Dyer understood, and together with Rent, they entered the boss's room. Upon entering, they discovered the boss was a high-level slime. This explained why the others had failed to get through. Rent mentioned there was still a way to overcome it, but since they had encountered the boss here, he wanted to test his abilities. If he wished to grow stronger, he had to embrace the challenge. Dyer charged forward, dodging attacks skillfully. However, he couldn't strike the core of the slime immediately and was thrown back. Despite the immense pain, he struggled to stand for Laura. When you can't fight, the wise choice is to retreat, not throw your life away. Every adventurer must face a crushing blow at some point, and whether they rise again from that shock is what truly defines their strength. Dar understood this and chose to follow Ren into the boss room. As they stepped inside, both realized the boss was a high-level slim. No wonder the others couldn't get past it earlier. Ren revealed there was still a way to overcome this beast, and now, facing it head-on, he wanted to test his limits. To grow stronger, one must fight fiercely, pushing their skills to the edge. Jai dashed forward, dodging skillfully, but couldn't pierce the slim's core. Thrown back with brutal force, pain seared through her, yet Jai gritted her teeth and began chanting her spells. In this battle, she was the key to defeating the slim, while Dai's job was to buy time. Before entering, Ren had laid out a plan, and they executed it with precision. Ren judged their combined strength capable of toppling the boss, though he planned to lend some support. He wouldn't let them get seriously hurt. Once Laura finished her spell, she signaled everyone to fall back. Laura unleashed a fireball against the slim. Since the boss was a water element creature, it was at a disadvantage. Victory belonged to Ren's group. It was the first time these two young rookies had beaten a boss, and the valuable materials they gathered would fetch a handsome price. They stayed behind to collect loot, ignoring the other contestants rushing ahead. Laura also realized that finishing first wasn't the real goal. As long as they crossed the finish line within the time limit, they would pass the test. Beyond this point lay more traps better left to others as cannon fodder. Their priority was safety and steady progress. GI understood that the guild's traps were designed to sharpen adventurers' skills. Strength alone wasn't enough. Without strategy, they'd fall prey to monsters. Unexpectedly, they still finished first. The two rookies had grown wiser, proving their identity by showing guild employee badges before earning trust. The prize was modest, immediate rank up and some healing potions. Having completed the trial, Ren invited them to follow him down to the maze's second floor, a place neither had set foot before. The revelation stunned them. Sunlight and strange plants thrived even here. This was the next battleground they'd face if they continued as adventurers. Better to prepare mentally from the start. The journey back to the guild was exhausting. Traps set by the guild wore them down. Upon handing over proof to Sla, all three were promoted to bronze rank adventurers. Even Sla's younger brother came to verify. The guild judged contestants not just on power, but also character, and they all scored perfectly. Ren learned that both rookies had defied their families to pursue adventuring, which stirred a tinge of nostalgia within him. He'd walked that same path. As day closed, it was time for farewells. Ren had his own journey ahead, and so did the two. He wished them well, reminding them that once a mentor, always a mentor. They wouldn't forget the lessons he taught today. After bidding goodbye to the rookies, Ren stood silently, feeling the weight of their shared resolve and the endless road ahead. Rent was talking with Sella, an old acquaintance sharp as a tack. She saw through Rent's true identity, so she invited him to a quiet place to talk. Knowing the guild might be plotting against him, Rent asked if this was an order from them. If so, he vowed never to return. Sella admitted the guild had indeed assigned her this mission, but what she wanted came from her own heart, not the guild's command. Rent reluctantly followed her to a private spot where she explained a serious matter that could affect them both. Rent begged Monko to keep it secret for safety. Sella agreed to bind herself with a magical contract. If she revealed the secret, the contract would punish her, and she'd leave the guild immediately. All this stemmed from her desire to help him, just as Rent once helped her become the disciplined person she is today. Hearing this, Rent agreed to the contract and removed his hood for her to see his face. With no better way to explain this was simplest. Sella was stunned. Rent had transformed into a demon, no longer fully human. For now, the conversation paused to let her truly think it over. No quick explanations would suffice. As Rent prepared to leave, Sella promised to do her best to help him. No matter what he'd become, she believed in his kind heart and trusted he wouldn't harm humans. From now on, if Rent faced guild trouble, she wanted him to come to her for help. They both returned home that night, and Vivi realized Rent had confided his body's secret to Sella. Back to the main topic, Vivi asked if Sella wasn't afraid of being caught by the guild for sticking her neck out like this. But Sella genuinely felt no fear. Vivi hinted that Rent had become a monstrous creature craving human flesh, yet Sella stayed determined to help him. Pleased by this, Vivi and Sella reached a fragile trust, and Vivi invited Sella to stay for dinner. Sella shared news of Rent's recent fame. There had been many disappearances of adventurers lately, not caused by monsters, so the guildmaster suspected kidnappings. Just then, someone strange like Rent appeared. No wonder suspicions ran high. The situation was tense, so Sella tried to explain to the guildmaster that Rent wouldn't return for now, hoping rumours would settle. A few days later, when asked about her investigation, Sella said Rent's true nature was good, no worse than the Rent they once knew. The guildmaster could rest easier. Days later, Rent went out early despite promising a break, worrying Vivi. In truth, Rent headed to the smithy to test a weapon the sword he'd ordered was finally finished. The blacksmith knew Rent's habits and had tailored it for ease of use. It could also withstand holy magic, as requested, so Rent could use it freely. First, Rent channeled his mana, surprising the smith with his increased power. Next came his physical energy and the holy magic. Indeed, this sword was a masterpiece. It withstood a holy magic slash without a scratch. After slicing a log with holy magic, the wood even sprouted new growth. The blacksmith decided to stack the logs, hoping for some strange result. Curious, he asked Rent how he wielded holy magic. Rent explained he often repaired abandoned shrines, so perhaps the gods blessed him. He also wanted to try combining 3 magic types to see if the effect would amplify. This fusion was rare, and success, uncertain failure might even blow him up. The blacksmith warned Rent to be cautious, but supported his trial. Rent insisted on trying, dreaming of becoming a top-tier adventurer. The smith reluctantly handed him another new sword, not wanting the first ruined. Rent infused mana into the blade, while channeling physical energy with his other hand, strengthening his whole body. The feeling was intense, like stuffing too much into an already full box. After enduring the strain, Rent unleashed a slash that turned the entire log into sand. This was just a test. Next, he added holy magic too. With fierce determination, Rent pumped all his mana, physical energy, and holy magic into the sword, cycling it through his body. The blacksmith watched nervously from afar, urging him to stop. But Rent unleashed a combined slash of all 3 energies. The log turned into a sand sphere, and the sword crumbled to dust, unable to bear the triple power. Realizing that combining these elements dissolves whatever is struck, the smith warned Rent not to repeat it often. Though the sword endured holy magic, this combo was a different beast. Rent recalled when a girl nearly killed him with a single strike. He asked if using this power against a strong enemy was allowed. The smith wasn't sure, but guessed Rent might need to mass-produce swords to carry. After this, Rent understood that to reach the next level, he needed better gear. On the way, Rent saw someone pleading with an adventurer to accept a mission outside the guild's approval. The adventurer feared punishment and refused. Seeing injustice, Rent stepped in, giving the adventurer some money to leave safely, and took on the mission himself. Curious, Rent asked what the mission was. He learned it was to defeat the Lord of the Lake. To understand this, Rent was taken to his client's village, weary from a day of seeking help. Rent let the client rest before planning to visit Vivi. The village lay east, known for strange festivals and a legend of sacrifices to the Lord of the Lake. Beautiful girls with magical power were offered to save the village. This story intrigued both Rent and the client, who wanted to see the creature firsthand. The next sacrifice was the client's own sister, which explained his desperate search for aid. Rent sensed this was no simple rescue. He believed saving the girl might suffice without facing the lake's lord directly. Arriving at the village, Rent found it bleak, lacking vitality ever since young women vanished. It made sense. Women were the heartbeat of the community, and without them, the men lost their will to work. The client's sister was wise beyond her years, and knowing her brother had hired help to rescue her, she immediately, "How? Shy?" She agreed, out of fear of dragging the whole village and her brother into trouble. Besides, Rent looked too rough to trust. Every word Rent heard pierced his heart. In the end, his little sister still refused help from adventurers, wanting to avoid angering the Lord of the Lake. Rent couldn't accept that he had been entrusted by her brother, so this was no longer her decision. With no other choice, she had to invite this stubborn adventurer to stay at their house, but firmly forbade him from interfering. The sacrifice ceremony was to begin tomorrow night. Seeing his sister silently endure words seemed powerless now. Her brother loved her deeply, he couldn't just let her be sacrificed. No matter what the villagers said, he vowed to stop the sacrifice at any cost. Hearing this, Rent promised to give everything he had, but first he needed to gather information. The next morning, while everyone prepared for the sacrifice festival, Rent secretly gathered intel about the Lake Lord. He discovered a sinister group selling goods to villagers during the festival. Sensing Rent wasn't local, they warned him to abandon his quest, fearing the wrath of the Lake Lord. Rent pretended to heed their advice. By afternoon, the festival began. The villagers mourned, hoping his sister would be reborn elsewhere. Their village was too cruel. Her brother tried desperately to convince the villagers to let her escape, but fear held them captive. They dreaded the Lake Lord's fury destroying the entire village. So in the end, she had to face the ordeal alone. By nightfall, everything was set. Rent finished his investigation and shared his plan with his sister. He wouldn't let her die. He urged her to fight, to not disappoint her brother. Those words gave the young girl a flicker of hope to keep living. The ritual proceeded as usual. Her brother and Rent became the boatmen, ferrying her to meet the Lake Lord. Approaching the centre of the lake, eerie bones began to envelop them. But something was off. The Lake Lord appeared, an enormous octopus, lifeless and hollow. Realizing it was just an illusion, Rent exposed the masterminds behind this charade. Thanks to Viv's magical item that let him walk on water, Rent leapt through the monstrous apparition. He identified the sellers from earlier as the true conspirators who arrogantly attacked, believing Rent weak and helpless. But Rent plunged their entire boat beneath the waves, returning the girl safely to the villagers. The brothers revealed the whole truth. Previous sacrifice girls were alive, imprisoned elsewhere, sold off to foreign lands for profit. With his mission complete, Rent requested to leave. After this ordeal, his little sister grew fond of her saviour and invited Rent to stay a few more days. But Rent, claiming urgent business, had to depart immediately. Unable to hold him back, she ran to give a farewell kiss hidden behind a mask, yet brimming with unspoken feelings and a promise to meet again. Following this, Rent realised that the missing adventurers weren't connected to this group. He returned home to report everything to Viv, explaining that it was thanks to Viv's water-walking shoes that he managed the rescue so smoothly. Only days later, Rent dared to visit the guild to accept his next commission, where he discovered end of provided content. A mission paying just a single coin, this kind of commission seemed destined to be ignored, almost like free labour. Yet surprisingly, some adventurers here still took it on. For them, adventuring wasn't just about money. Sometimes it was about helping others. Later, Rent crossed paths with Sella again, who offered to assist him with lighter commissions if he wished. Intrigued by this one-coin quest, Rent agreed. The task was to gather a rare flower that bloomed only near a poisonous swamp. This flower carried a love story behind it, one Rent had heard of before. But this time the request was to use the flower for medicine made by a young girl, hoping to save someone dear. Rent accepted the mission and headed to the employer's house. Just as he was about to knock, his hand broke, so he used some slime's adhesive to fix it. Rent then met a girl who mistook him for a debt collector. Inside, he revealed he was an adventurer. The children there were fascinated by Rent, but the girl, seemingly their eldest sister, warned them to stay away from suspicious strangers. Though she didn't directly accuse Rent, he felt her caution was justified. Rent asked her to speak normally and not worry too much about him. The girl introduced herself as Elise. Rent requested her to explain everything in detail. Elise led him to meet the nun of the orphanage who was ill. Elise had to care for the children in her place. Because the place was so poor, they couldn't pay rent much. Rent initially thought he was there to clean the orphanage's basement, unaware of the deeper troubles. Elise didn't reveal everything at first. Later, she confided in Rent that the nun was suffering from a disease caused by overusing holy magic. The cure required that rare flower from the toxic swamp. Elise hid this from the nun, fearing she'd leave and be replaced by another. The nun had accepted her fate and the illness quietly. Rent chose to take the commission, knowing Elise might risk her own life to fetch the flower otherwise. Rent then descended into the basement to deal with monsters, as the nun had explained. The creatures were just giant rats, but when the leader bit Rent's hand, it suddenly turned black and obeyed his commands. Returning to Vivi, Rent shared what happened. She realized Rent had developed the power to summon familiars and suggested he adopt the rat pup. The little rat bit Vivi too, showing it liked her blood, so she named it Edo and planned some small experiments. Edo seemed to take to Vivi behaving well. That night, Rent couldn't sleep and felt restless. Vivi invited him to eat, even cooking for him herself. She knew he planned to go to the nearby poisonous swamp, a place rumoured to harbour half-dragon monsters. Rent was confident he could handle them, having bought holy water to repel such creatures. Though not foolproof, it gave him some hope. As he ate, Vivi admitted she mixed some of her own blood into the food to help him sense things better. The next day, Rent reached the swamp. A carriage driver promised to pick him up at night. The swamp was perilous, but certain rare plants thrived only there, so travellers still passed through. Rent soon encountered a band of goblins stronger than those in the maze due to the harsh environment sharpening their wits and tactics. Despite their coordinated attacks, Rent swiftly wiped them out. Continuing deeper. Rent suddenly fell into the water and faced a giant fish. He dispatched it quickly. Meanwhile, the rat watched Sella, who had come to visit Vivi. They chatted about the criminals Rent had caught before. Sella wondered why Rent wanted to become the highest-ranked adventurer. Vivi hadn't asked him either, believing it normal for adventurers not to pry into each other's pasts. She worried for Rent on this mission, but trusted he'd manage. Rent regretted buying cheap holy water just then, as a half-dragon appeared and cornered him. Dodging its toxic breath, he struck back, but his magic and strength had little effect. Then, the rat used holy magic and leapt straight at the half-dragon, forcing it to expel Rent. Realizing the half-dragon was vulnerable to holy magic, Rent activated his own and dodged every attack, finally severing the beast's neck. He credited the rat for the kill and stored the head in a magical pouch to bring back. Rent found the flower field Elise needed, but was stopped by an elf, also gathering the rare bloom. The elf carried antidotes and holy water to cross the swamp safely. They sat and picked flowers together. The elf only took one flower for his sick wife and wished for her recovery. He then offered friendship to Rent, needing someone to regularly deliver flowers to his employer because the flowers couldn't be preserved long. He introduced himself as Yoseki and promised to share his employer's identity once Rent accepted the commission. After accepting, Rent returned to the city and sought Sella's help to handle the half-dragon's corpse discreetly. Sella led him to a workshop where Dario processed monster remains. The half-dragon's body was nearly intact, meaning Rent had slain it in one strike. Dario promised to sell the valuable materials and handle the transaction for Rent. Afterwards, Rent planned to visit the orphanage the next day. Sella noticed Rent had grown stronger, but he dismissed it. To him, Yoseki was the truly powerful one. Rent believed his own strength came not from training, but from a chance transformation into a monster. The next day, Rent returned to the orphanage and met Elise again, informing her he had completed the commission. 2 alchemists, called by Elise, examined the flowers, declaring them perfect to cure the nun, before using the remainder to help others. Rent handed over a bag of flowers, encouraging them to aid anyone in need. He quickly recovered, then approached Ren with a surprising request to become friends. He needed someone to regularly deliver a special flower to his master. Because this flower couldn't be preserved for long, he introduced himself as Yi Sok and promised to reveal his master's identity later. After Ren accepted this trust, he returned to the city and sought out Sella, asking her to help him deal with the remains of the half-dragon. Since handling the half-dragon's corpse here would attract unwanted attention, Sella led Ren to a warehouse to meet Dario, the expert in processing remains. Because the entire half-dragon's body was valuable material, Dario took responsibility for preparing it for sale. Noticing that Ren had defeated the half-dragon with a single strike, Dario realized the body showed minimal damage and would fetch a high price. After this, Ren left with a resolve to visit the orphanage the next day. Seller sensed that Ren had grown stronger, but Ren himself didn't share that view. To him, real strength belonged to people like Yisak. Ren felt he was just leaning on his immortal body, and powers gained by chance, not through hard training. The next day, Ren returned to the orphanage and reunited with Elise. He told her he had completed his entrusted task. 2 apothecaries, called by Elise, saw that the flower was flawless and wanted to use it to heal Sora, then share the rest with others. Ren handed over a bag of flowers, telling them to help anyone in need. Then Ren asked Elise if she still wished to become an adventurer. She did, wanting to be an adventurer who helps people like Ren. Ren also shared that Edel's subordinates would now protect this hideout. If Elise wanted to continue as an adventurer, he promised to introduce her to a skilled magic teacher. Elise hesitated to rely too much on Ren, so he said he would let her owe him, and she could repay him later. That evening, Ren asked Vivi to train Elise. Vivi noticed Ren had been meeting many young women lately, but still seemed clueless about romance. She decided to test him with some new spells. Ren got scared and awkwardly complimented Vivi, who forgave him for now knowing his praise was meant only for her. The next morning, Ren arrived at the guild, where he learned a powerful noble family had issued a request and specifically named him to accept it. Ren sensed this mission came from Yak, a retainer of that noble family, which was shrouded in mystery. Deciding to accept the request, Ren set out for the noble household. Meanwhile, Elise had used 2 apothecaries to inform Sora of the truth. Just as Sora was about to leave, the medicine was prepared. Upon hearing Elise had taken on the mission, Sora realized that Ren was the one who accepted it. By now, Ren had arrived at the mansion of that noble family. The gatekeeper told him that ahead lay a labyrinth garden created by the family's magical artifacts. The gatekeeper had a purpose to find something valuable. Latour explained that if he infused magical power into a device, he could gain the device's aerial vision. However, this consumed a lot of magic and had limited range, so he hesitated and hadn't chosen yet. Ren then ventured deeper to investigate and spotted other magical artifacts. With that mysterious warning, Ren stepped into the maze. Despite travelling far, his magical map refused to record his path. Realizing he couldn't rely on magic alone, Ren chose to forge ahead on instinct. Time slipped by, and after much wandering, he had to admit he was lost. Then, in a quiet corner of the garden, he found a girl sitting calmly. She told him that if he wished to continue, the path was just ahead. But if he wanted a break, he could stay and have tea with her. Ren noticed her teapot and tea container were magical artifacts. They could pour endless tea without ever running out. The girl explained that the teapot was worth 300 platinum coins, and just 1 platinum coin could sustain a person for life. This clan was anything but ordinary. The girl then spotted Ren's mask, which could transform another magical artifact, and asked to buy it from him. Ren knew selling it would be a fortune, but he couldn't remove it, and it was his key to moving through the maze. She warned him again not to trust the sun. After leaving, Ren noticed the sun suddenly shifted position. He threw a stone, but it moved too, confirming that he couldn't simply rely on remembering the route. After a full day, Ren finally reached the mansion. Both the girl and Yak realized that Ren had grasped the maze's true nature. The girl introduced herself as Latour and asked about the mission and the reward. She offered Ren a choice pick any magical artifact from their vault. Ren followed them through a secret passage into a treasure trove filled with countless magical items, some useless, like an endlessly bouncing ball. Ren spotted a toy airplane controlled by magic. Although it was just a toy, he liked it. Latour explained that if he channeled magic into the plane, he could see through its eyes, but it consumed a lot of energy and didn't fly far, so Ren hesitated and didn't choose it. They ventured deeper into the vault, where Ren accidentally touched something that caused nearby fragments to merge into a golem. The golem immediately attacked him. Isaac scrambled to find a way to stop it and asked Ren to hold it off. The golem was incredibly powerful. Ren slashed off its arm with his bare hands. Vivi had once told him that golems have a seal on their foreheads, and hitting that spot would stop them. But this golem had no seal. Ren prepared to use a combined attack to destroy it when suddenly Latour stopped the golem. No dialogue in original, merged with previous. Suddenly, Ren accidentally touched something, causing many nearby fragments to merge into a towering golem that immediately attacked him. Isaac scrambled to find something to stop the golem and asked Ren to hold it off. The golem was truly powerful, and Ren managed to sever its arm. Vivi had warned him that golems had a mark on their foreheads and striking it would stop them. But this golem lacked such a mark, so Ren planned to use a combined skill to destroy it. Just then, Lat stopped the golem in its tracks. The sudden intervention left Ren caught between awe and relief, as the golem's unstoppable assault was halted by Lat's unexpected presence. Just in time, Vivi and Rent start tidying up this chaotic mess, wondering if Rent is ready to keep going. Then, Rent discovers a vial of blood. Vivi reveals it's vampire blood, a deadly brew that no one has ever survived. Yet Rent, driven by a fierce resolve, decides to take it, believing it might transform him into a true vampire. Back home, Rent is carrying a small plane that Vivi finds fascinating. It's a gift from Jacek. Vivi offers to entrust Rent with regular flower deliveries, and he agrees. But about that vial of blood, neither Rent nor Vivi knows what consequences lie ahead. Vivi honestly doesn't want Rent to risk his life by drinking that blood. She tells him, even if you're part demon and choose to live here forever with me, that's fine. But knowing Rent's fiery spirit, she's certain he won't listen, because becoming a high-level adventurer is his dream. Suddenly, Vivi recalls a question from S and asks Rent why he's so set on becoming a high-tier adventurer. Rent realizes he's never shared this with Vivi, before she never asked either, since Rent insisted adventurers shouldn't pry into each other's pasts. With a steady voice, Rent finally opens up he wants to be a high-level adventurer for revenge, but more deeply to prevent the tragedy that once shattered his life. Rent grew up in a remote mountain village. At 10 years old, he went out trading with his parents. He had an older sister, Lin, who yearned to see the world, while Rent feared bandits. Lin teased him for being timid, saying he'd never become an adventurer that way. She dreamed of becoming one herself, eager to explore beyond their village. Lin was impulsive, often dragging Rent into mischief, earning them many scoldings. But then came the day their village was attacked. Their mother told Rent and Lin to run. Their parents perished. Lin pulled Rent away from a monstrous beast, but soon the beast found them both. In a heart-wrenching moment, Lin sacrificed her life to save Rent from the beast's claws. Just as all seemed lost, a warrior arrived and fought the beast. After a fierce battle, the beast fled, but Rent could only blame the warrior for coming too late. The warrior apologized and carried Rent and the remains of his family back to the village. Rent then asked the warrior how to become an adventurer. The warrior told him he'd have to wait 10 years before registering, and in the meantime to train his body and mind. The warrior revealed he himself was a high-level adventurer, and if Rent ever reached that rank, he should seek him out again, though no one knew where he would be. 20 years have passed, and Rent remains stuck at the bronze rank, but his resolve never wavers. He's determined to personally slay the wolf that destroyed his family, and to reunite with that warrior once more. If after drinking the vampire blood Rent becomes something strange, Vivi tells him not to hesitate to stop him. With that, Rent drinks the blood. At first, nothing happens. He suspects it's fake. Suddenly, pain explodes through his body, and he collapses, feeling as if his entire being is being remade. But Vivi's voice anchors his fading mind. He breathes deeply, and the next morning he wakes. We find him with the blacksmith friend, who is still tirelessly forging a better sword for Rent. Meanwhile, Elise and the others are beginning to nurture their own adventurer dreams. S notices Elise's passion and thanks her for helping the village continue. Jar and Laura have also welcomed Rena into their team. As Rent awakens and reunites with Vivi, she's curious to see what he's become. Rent has evolved, but what exactly is he now? He's regained his human form, but now sports wings on his back. Vivi examines him carefully. His mouth bears small fangs and his eyes glow red. Yet these changes feel almost normal, and Rent can still be the person he was before. If he wants, Rent decides to set out once more to find that old warrior. Vivi offers to accompany him, ready to face whatever lies ahead. And with that, this chapter closes. Though Rent's journey is marked by loss and sacrifice, it's also a tale of unyielding hope and transformation. From a frightened boy hiding behind his sister's courage, To a man reborn with the blood of a vampire, every step is fueled by a dream to protect, to avenge, and to find his place in a world that once tore him apart. If you've ever carried a pain so deep it shaped who you are, Rent's story reminds us that even shattered souls can rise again, wings unfurled ready to soar, and sometimes the darkest journeys lead to the brightest futures. So, if you ever feel lost between vengeance and forgiveness, between who you were and who you want to be, remember Rent's fire. Even a single spark